Welcome, everyone. I am so incredibly thrilled you're here today. We're jumping right into a totally fascinating explainer, embarking on a deep dive into some seriously ancient wisdom. We're going to decode the Brihat-Parasara Hora Shastra together. Specifically, we're honing in on a profound concept from Chapter 18 known as the Karakamsa. Now listen, this isn't just about predicting the future. No, it's way bigger than that. It's about mapping the soul's cosmic journey, starting from its divine origins all the way to its ultimate spiritual liberation. Think of this explainer as a documentary-style, academic, yet completely approachable breakdown of one of the most intricate astrological frameworks ever documented. All right, let's dive right in.
Here is our roadmap for this journey. First, we'll cover the cosmic origins. Second, defining the Atmakaraka. Third, exploring the Karakamsa. Fourth, planets in the Karakamsa. Fifth, calculating planetary aspects. And finally, number 6, the path to emancipation.
Okay, starting with Section 1, the cosmic origins. To truly understand this mirror of the soul, we have to start at the very beginning and look at the philosophical foundation, linking the vast universe directly to our human ego.
So according to the ancient sage Parashara, back in Chapter 1, there's a foundational truth you absolutely need to grasp before we get into Chapter 18. He explains that the Supreme Lord resides in all beings, and the entire universe resides in him. It's beautiful, right? But here is the critical distinction. All beings contain two distinct types of spiritual essence. You have the Jivatmamsa, which is basically the individual mortal soul. Then you have the Paramatmamsa, which is a fraction of the divine soul itself. Now, while us human beings are predominantly made up of the individual mortal soul, the planets, the grahas, like the sun and the moon, are completely infused with Paramatmamsa, that divine essence. They are, quite literally, the cosmic administrators of divine will. They set the entire stage for everything Chapter 18 reveals about our individual destinies.
Moving right along to Section 2, defining the Atmakaraka. Let's transition down from that massive cosmic macrocosm and zoom into your individual blueprint. We need to figure out the single most important planet in your birth chart. The absolute anchor, the center of gravity for this entire system, is a planet called the Atmakaraka. The definition here is super precise. Out of the planets from the Sun all the way to Rahu, the one that has traversed the maximum number of degrees within any particular zodiac sign becomes your Atmakaraka. It's essentially a cosmic race. For example, if your Sun is at 28 degrees in Aries and your Venus is at 15 degrees in Taurus, well, the Sun is further along in its respective sign, right? So the Sun wins. It's the Atmakaraka. If two planets have the exact same degrees, we don't panic, we just look at the minutes of arc and then down to the seconds if we have to. This specific winning planet becomes the absolute king of the chart, dictating your core spiritual identity and your ultimate destiny.
To put that into perspective, let's look at Shloka 12 of Chapter 18. The translation says, just as the minister cannot go against the king, the other Karakas cannot predominate over Atmakaraka. I love this analogy. The Atmakaraka is the unquestioned sovereign. Other planets, like the Amantikaraka, which acts as the minister, representing your career, they ultimately have to yield to the Atmakaraka. It makes perfect sense, doesn't it? If the king is well-placed and strong, the ministers can actually do their jobs effectively. But if the king is struggling or adverse, even your very best ministers are going to have a really hard time delivering any beneficial results.
Which brings us perfectly to Section 3, exploring the Karamkasa. Now that we know exactly who the king is, we really need to find out where this king resides.
Enter the Karakamsa. The Karakamsa is the specific Namamamsa Rasi, which is just a fancy way of saying the 1/9 fractional zodiac sign division that is occupied by your Atmakaraka planet. Think about it like this. If the Atmakaraka is your soul, the Karakamsa is the mirror. It's the reflection of exactly what your soul is meant to experience, what it's meant to suffer through, or what it's destined to achieve in this specific lifetime. It literally sets the stage for the whole shebang.
Shlokas 2 through 8 of Chapter 18 dive deep into the specific effects of the Karakamsa falling into different zodiac signs. It's incredibly detailed. For instance, if your Atmakaraka falls into the Aries Namamsa, the ancient text actually warns of nuisances from rats and cats. Now, in modern terms, we can easily interpret that as dealing with recurring, nagging, earthly irritations. If it lands in Libra, the native is said to become a highly skilled trader or a maker of fine robes, which is absolutely perfect for a modern career in commerce or fashion design. Sagittarius, unfortunately, brings a risk of falling from heights or conveyances, so maybe watch your step there.
But if the Karakamsa falls in Pisces, the text says the Atmakaraka will grant final emancipation. So the sign itself creates the fundamental physical and spiritual environment for the soul.
All right, section 4, planets in the Karakamsa. What exactly happens when other specific planets occupy this critical mirror of the soul? Let's shift our focus to the actual planetary actors standing on this stage.
I absolutely love how structured this is. Shlokas 13 through 18 break down the exact outcomes of planets sitting in the Karakamsa. I've placed the ancient descriptions here right alongside their modern equivalents so we can grasp the practical so what of it all. The sun brings royal assignments, which translates flawlessly to executive or top-tier government roles today. A full moon creates a scholar who really enjoys the pleasures of life, basically your esteemed modern-day academic. Mars makes someone an alchemist who lives by fire and uses a spear. Today we'd call that an engineer, a chemist, or maybe someone in the military. And a strong Mercury guarantees high intelligence and immense skill in arts and commerce. It is wild how the ancient sages were categorizing these professional and psychological archetypes with such stunning precision thousands of years ago.
And it gets even more fascinating when we start combining planets, as detailed in verses 19 and onwards. Say the Sun and Rahu are sitting together in the Karakamsa, the text says there is a profound fear of snakes. But, and here's the cool part, if beneficial aspects are also present, this native becomes a doctor treating poisonous afflictions. That's a modern-day toxicologist or a specialized surgeon, right there. Then you have Ketu in the Karakamsa, which denotes dealing in elephants. Now, in ancient times, elephants were the ultimate heavy logistics machinery. So today, that easily means dealing in heavy transport or large-scale industry. And looking a bit away from the Karakamsa itself, if Jupiter and the Moon happen to sit in the 5th house away from the Karakamsa, the native is destined to become an author.
You see, it's totally vital to understand that we don't just stop at the Karakamsa itself. It essentially acts as a secondary ascendant. We count the houses away from it to read the specific chapters of the soul's life. Verses 50 to 60 explain this beautifully. For example, the 9th house from the Karakamsa rules religious devotion and truthfulness. If benefic planets influence that 9th house, the person will be deeply devoted to their elders and to the truth. The 10th house from the Karakamsa, on the other hand, dictates your professional success. If you've got Mercury and Venus sitting there, the native is going to experience massive, incredible gains in business and perform really great deeds.
Section 5. Calculating planetary aspects. Now, in Vedic astrology, planets looking at each other isn't just some poetic metaphor. It is strict, beautiful mathematics.
To truly unlock the outcomes in Chapter 18, we have to apply the calculation rules from Chapter 26. You have ordinary aspects, which are just based on simple sign positions. Like a planet in a movable sign naturally aspects planets in fixed signs. Simple enough. But the sages also required subtle mathematical aspects. These are calculated down to the exact degree to determine if a planetary aspect is operating at a quarter strength, half strength, three-quarters, or full strength. This precise proportional value is called the drishti kuna, or aspectual angle.
I know math can seem daunting, but verses 6 through 8 break down a highly logical formula, often referenced around page 245 of standard translations. Let me walk you through exactly how a researcher calculates this. Step 1, you deduct the longitude of the aspected planet directly from the aspecting planet. Now, if that resulting sum exceeds 6 signs, or 180 degrees, you just deduct that sum again from 10 signs, or 300 degrees. Step 2, you convert that final sum entirely into exact degrees. And step 3, you simply divide those degrees by 2. Boom. The result is your drishtikona. This exact, precise number tells you perfectly how much influence one planet is forcing onto another. It's just a stunningly scientific approach to ancient astrology.
Which finally brings us to Section 6, the path to emancipation. We've traced the soul all the way from the cosmos, identified its king, observed its worldly mirror, and calculated the forces acting on it. Now, we arrive at the grand culmination of the astrological journey.
In this entire system, the 12th house from the Karakamsa is arguably the most sacred space in the chart. It is literally the cosmic doorway to salvation. While the 10th house, we talked about earlier, shows your earthly career, the 12th house from the soul's mirror dictates the soul's final exit from the material world altogether.
Shlokas 63 through 74 lay down the specific rules for this exit. If you have a benefic planet in this 12th house, it means your expenses in life will largely be for good, noble causes. But the true key to this doorway, that is the planet Ketu. Ketu represents ultimate detachment. If Ketu is placed in the 12th house from your Karakamsa and is aspected by a benefic, Chapter 18 declares you will attain final emancipation, moksha. Furthermore, if this 12th house happens to be the sign of Aries or Sagittarius and Ketu is sitting right there,
It specifically triggers that moksha. And if the sun and Ketu are hanging out together in that 12th house, the native will spend their life in deep, profound devotion to Lord Shiva. Ketu really is the ultimate spiritual liberator here.
So, what a journey, right? We've gone from the divine Paramatmasa of the planets, found the Atmakaraka king, looked deeply into the Karakamsa mirror, and finally mapped that 12th house exit doorway to salvation. As we wrap up, I want to leave you with this provocative thought to ponder. If your Atmakaraka is the absolute king of your cosmic map, what does your Karakamsa reflect about your soul's ultimate destination? The ancient mouth and the beautiful poetry of Chapter 18 suggest that our journey is neither random nor chaotic. Instead, it's a deeply structured, meaningful path of learning. As we prepare to explore subsequent chapters, which are going to dive into the intricate planetary periods and dashas of life, I really hope this explainer has illuminated this profound text for you. Keep learning, keep analyzing those charts, and I will see you in the next deep dive.